Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I hate doing videos twice, but I'm going to do this video again. My stream was interrupted midway, literally just cut off. Don't know what causes that. Usually the videos go fine, but every so often I get an interruption. I apologize for the interruption. That's the first point. Second, let's check sound before we jump off on this. For those of you who were here for the prior stream, forgive me on this. I need to recoup some of... Yeah, good. I need to run over a little bit of what I did before because I am making up for the ground that was in the other video. If you're new to this, great, welcome. if you're new, welcome. If you were here in the last stream that cut up, I apologize. All right, so let's try to run through this relatively quickly, because there were big events that were taking place in Britain at the same time where events were taking place here in Helsinki. Donald Trump meets Vladimir Putin, people's head explode. Now, I haven't even gotten to the Donald Trump video yet. This is still me trying to work my way to that video because there were several events that have taken place today. I was focused more so on the United States today, and shout out to Gordon DeMack for pointing my head in the direction of what was taking place in Britain today, which was big news, big events, and the main news for that event is capitulation. Capitulation. The Prime Minister bends the knee to the hard Brexiteers that are in her midst. Rees-Mogg looks like a giant petting Theresa May with her arms behind her back, the Prime Minister face in the sand. Capitulation. Now, what this boils down to is, in order to go through it relatively fast, the Prime Minister goes to Chequers, and in Chequers, this is supposed to be the time where she sets out what the government's position is going to be for Brexit. What does Brexit mean? Because for all intents and purposes, when the public voted for Brexit, they voted for an esoteric idea, not necessarily reality. And again, what I mean by this is the meaning of Brexit. Nobody understood what Brexit was going to look like. It's easy to say we're going to leave the European Union, yes, but what is going to be the relationship between Britain and the European Union after you leave the European Union? Ultimately, that's what Brexit is. And nobody knew what that relationship was, nor did anybody explain the complications associated with leaving to the public. So, what is the baby Theresa May is going to deliver? And by the way, I would have said the same thing for Cameron. I use the analogy of a baby for this because that's essentially what you're getting. You go away for a few years, you come back, and Theresa May has a screaming baby. Here's this baby that you've liked. No, take it away. Take it away. That's not what I wanted. The white paper sets out the government's disposition on what the government wants, the government's position in negotiation. Now, this was supposed to be the time where everybody came under the umbrella, everybody was going to toe the line, and Theresa May was going to walk out as a united front and address the European Union. And not only did that not happen, you had calamity take place with people like Boris Johnson giving this overdramatic, oh God, the dream of a Brexit is dying. It's dying. It's falling apart. It's being strangled by this government. I can't, in good faith, go on in this government. This kind of melodramatic Captain Kirk type performance. Then you fast forward, or you can say a day before or 2 days before, David Davis resigns, leaves. I'm done. Done. I can't stand this government to go this way. This government is going to put us in the state of a vassal colony or vassal state. Boris Johnson used the term colony. It's going to relegate us to the position of a colony. Listen to these words. I love these words. These words, often, their meanings. Like their meanings are so obfuscated. Is it possible that Boris Johnson looks at what is going to take place from the standpoint of the European Union as leaving the UK into the position of a colony? Does he really believe that what's going to happen to the UK is synonymous with a colony? I say this to say it because, yeah, he's being hyperbolic in the same way that people are saying Donald Trump getting along with Vladimir Putin is treasonous. There's a certain hyperbolic, you can say angle to the language. But these guys are hardcore Brexiteers, and they're trying to give this stark warning to the public, and the way they've been doing this is by outright resigning and condemning Theresa May's government. The Chequers agreement didn't work out as planned, and there's been an insurgency that's been set up by Rees-Mogg. They've been running an insurgency against Theresa May's Chequers plan. And part of that insurgency has been to try to collect votes to potentially force a no confidence vote. If they get 48, Theresa May's head may go on a platter, and this government may very well implode. Now, with the backdrop of that, meaning them on WhatsApp trying to get people to vote Theresa May down to try to get a no confidence vote, it's through that context that Rees-Mogg puts out his amendments that he wants the government to take on. And it's not fully Rees-Mogg, but it's this European research group. Puts out 4 amendments that they want the government to take. Hard Brexiteers said, this is what we want you to do. The government, this morning, they're against it. Not so much this evening. Not so much this evening. The influence that's been wielded by the Brexiteers in this has been somewhat tremendous. And what's considered in one of these amendments to be somewhat of a poison pill, an amendment dealing with tariffs, trying to get the European Union to collect tariffs as we're going to collect tariffs for them, is seen to be somewhat of a poison pill. Now, Theresa May's government was against it this morning. This evening, they voted it in. Barely. But they voted it in. This is seen to be a complete capitulation. How can you be against it and then turn around and be for it? They made the point that says, hey, this is not, antithetical to what we came up with at Chequers. Whether it is or not, it comes across as if it's a poison pill. And it comes across as if the government was too weak to withstand what may have been the toppling of this government. And what I mean by that is, they made the point that your head is on the platter because your head is on the chopping block. She's been more amicable than I think she otherwise would have if you didn't have 40 some odd people in the background that are trying to get Theresa May up for a no confidence vote. So let's go through a few of these articles because I think some of these articles are amazing. And I love how seeing it in the morning and then in the evening because there's a dramatic shift. Like in the morning, it's the hardline Brexiteers are putting up amendments and number 10 is not necessarily on board for it. And then by the night, it's the Brexiteers have gotten their amendments through and the Remainers are pissed off about this. I love this. Big time politics. So this is The Guardian. Theresa May faces rebellion from hardliner Brexit and customs vote. Let's do the independent one first. Let's do this one first. Yeah, this one works. May narrowly heads off defeat after caving into Brexit hardliners. I love that. Caving into Brexit hardliners. So let's start with this one. Theresa May faces rebellion from Brexit hardliners in custom bill vote. Theresa May faces a conservative rebellion from hard Brexit wing of the Conservative Party on Monday as MPs unhappy with her Chequers compromise prepared to mount a show of strength by voting for their amendments on a customs bill. The party's European research group says it will reject any last attempt at compromise by number 10 as they hope to force May to change course over Brexit or risk no confidence vote before the summer break by demonstrating the depth of their support. I love that. It's like they were waving their pimp hand about, we will go back no further. We will not take a step back. I don't like Rees-Mogg, but I respect the hell out of him for putting up his pushback. A special ERG whipping operation used a WhatsApp messaging service has been created by Steve Baker, the former Brexit minister who resigned from the government last week. Although ERG insiders would not put a number on how many they expect to rebel in the Commons, Jacob Rees-Mogg, the chairman of the ERG, told the BBC, we'll have an idea on the numbers at 10 p.m. on Monday evening. This sounds like something in the Wild West. We're going to meet by 10 p.m. We're going to know by 10 p.m. While one ERG insider added that they were intensely relaxed about the number of rebels they had signed up. God, I love that. Last week, members of the Hard Brexit group put down 4 amendments to the taxation cross-border trade bill due to be debated on Monday evening, aimed at halting the custom plan announced by May at Chequers 9 days ago. The level of support they attract will draw intense focus, particularly in the number if the number significantly exceeded the 48 required to call a vote of no confidence in May's leadership of the Conservative Party. Now, let's move to this one. May narrowly heads off defeat after caving into the Brexit hardliners. Theresa May has narrowly seen off a Commons rebellion from the Conservative Remainers unhappy that she caved into the hardline Brexit by accepting the amendments to the custom bill. So let's go to this one first, because this one I guess makes more sense in this role. Theresa May poised to hand Brexiteers a victory by accepting changes to the custom legislation. Poised, she did. Theresa May is poised to hand the pro-hard Brexit MPs a victory by accepting a raft of changes to the custom legislation in votes tonight. The European Research Group, led by Jacob Rees-Mogg, has put down 4 amendments to the taxation bill as it bids to force the Prime Minister to back a hard Brexit stance. Her spokesman signaled a climb down when he told reporters, "We will consider the amendments and set out our position in due course." It appeared that the government might accept all 4 amendments in the belief that doing so would not wreck the Chequers plan for tariffs, even before it reached Brussels. The most significant would prevent the UK from collecting dues on EU unless Brussels agreed reciprocal agreements, which the Brexiteers believe will kill off the prospect. But a government source suggested this would not conflict with the Chequers proposal, dubbed the Facilitated Customs Arrangement. By early on Monday, it had been signaled by 11 Tory MPs, including former leader Ian Duncan Smith, former cabinet minister Priti Patel, and Mr. Rees-Mogg. Now, they're trying to get 48 votes, or potentially 48 votes, but they've hanged that on Theresa May's head, using that as somewhat leverage to try to get what they wanted through, meaning get those amendments tabled. Theresa May tabled them. She understood they might have been the numbers, or at the very least somebody had told her the numbers were there. So here are the bills, or the amendments. One will require the UK to have a separate VAT regime for the EU, while another will require the government to table primary legislation if it wishes to keep Britain in a customs union. The last would enshrine into law that there cannot be a customs border down the Irish Sea, a border Miss May repeatedly ruled out anyway. Nevertheless, the last amendment would be seen as provocative by Brussels, which has floated the idea as a backstop measure needed to secure a withdrawal agreement. There are suggestions that the ERG could agree to pull an amendment requiring reciprocity on tariff collections if the government accepts the other 3. But Steve Baker, who quit as Brexit minister in protest at Chequers' plan and who was whipping Tories for the ERG, insisted that was wrong. And by the way, that was wrong. That was completely wrong. You fast forward to the vote tonight, and they got what they wanted. In fact, they got their amendments. May narrowly heads off defeat after caving in the Brexit hardliners. So let's go through. People were pissed off. This is kind of what I mean. She can't win. This is a no-win situation. Half are for it, half are against it. Theresa May is trying to walk a tightrope, but in doing so, you're getting something that's not all that great. And her head is on the chopping block, potentially, so she had to cave. She didn't have a choice. Theresa May has narrowly seen off a Commons rebellion from Conservative Remainers, unhappy that she has caved into Brexit hardliners by accepting their amendment to the customs bill. The government majority was reduced to just 3 votes on most controversial amendments after Tory Remainer Anna Sudbury complained that the Prime Minister had lost control of events, making concessions to the right-wing European Research Group of MPs. The most important of the 4 amendments from the ERG, chaired by Jacob Rees-Mogg, has designed to frustrate May's compromise proposals of the customs arrangement agreed at Chequers and had initially been opposed by the government until Downing Street made a sudden U-turn this afternoon. I wonder why. Number 10 then concluded that all 4 amendments were consistent with the Brexit White Paper, a decision that so incensed Tory Remainers that they vowed to vote against the amendments in Monday night's Commons debate. One junior minister, Gutto Bebb, resigned after support of the ERG Customs Union Agreement, which narrowly passed by 305 to 302. A total of 14 Tory Remainers voted against the government, while 3 Labour MPs and former Labour MP Kelvin Hopkins voted the other way. A second ERG amendment preventing the UK from joining in with the EU's VAT regime post-Brexit passed 303 to 300. A frustrated Sobry had told the Commons, the only reason the government has accepted these amendments is because it's frightened of somewhere in the region of 40 members of parliament, the hard no-deal Brexiteers who should have seen off a long time ago and should be seen off Should have been seen off a long time ago and should be seen off. She asked, who's in charge? Is it the Prime Minister or is it the member for North East Somerset? Her Remainer colleagues, Dominique Grieve, said of the amendment the only intention behind their tabling was malevolent. Malevolent. How many times do you use the term malevolent in your daily life? I love that. The only reason that people would table these amendments to this bill is malevolent. It's malevolent. I love it. I love it. God, I love it. Love the language. And by saying I love the language is way hyperbolic, but I love the language. May's decision improves her prospects of making it through the summer break without a leadership challenge. She is going week to week. I'm trying to get across this idea of what's taking place in Britain. This is amazing politics on an epic international scale. The British government is under extraordinary pressure right now. And you have certain members of the government that's saying, we're going to take your head if you don't do what we tell you to do. With other members saying, we're going to take your head if you don't do what we tell you to do. Now, the people who are organized in this, in a sense, is the Brexiteers. Those are the main people who are organized into having a group that is trying to put their knuckles into Theresa May, knowing that government will collapse if she's, let's say if she doesn't toe the line to some degree. Let's keep going. There's more to this. A critical amendment adopted by the government on Monday stated that the HM Revenue and Customs could not collect duties or VAT on goods on behalf of the European Union unless there was a reciprocal arrangement. The Brexiteers believe that this will kill off the customs plan because they expect Brussels will reject such a measure. On Monday morning, Downing Street indicated that it had concerns about this amendment and that its impact on the customs plan, but there was a change of mind after Rees-Mogg held talks with the party chief whip Julian Smith. Number 10 argued that the EU had only ruled out collecting UK duties and tariffs at its border and would be necessary to have other reciprocal financial systems with the EU to refund businesses in the event that there was differing customs arrangements between Britain and the 27-country bloc. The ERG believes May's facilitated customs arrangement, which will see the UK collect EU tariffs on some imports and plans for the custom rulebook for goods and agriculture, would allow for too close a common relationship with the EU 27. Look, the key point to take away here is the Brexiteers believe that this is some kind of poison pill, and that getting the government to accept some of these, especially Rees-Mogg's amendment, is in some way has the potential to kill the arrangement. That's why they're putting it through. That's why they're doing it. Let's see.